Here on the banks of the Ohio, we're just about set for the unlimited final. We take a look at ARC Construction. Steve David, the driver, hoping to be the guy who can knock off Dave Vilwalk and Budweiser for the first time in this season.
Push him hard.
Kenny Washer, former member of that Steve Woomer team, here helping out with Jim Harvey's effort. Kenny lives up in Madison, came down to the race, ended up with a uniform on. Steve David in this boat can definitely contend for the championship here, John, if he can get that inside lane on the final. So all of that dicing leading up to the 1-minute gun and finally the run down to the start line is going to be critical here.
And there we are now inside 5 minutes on the clock. Steve David already out and about to get it up on plane. He doesn't want to get caught back at the dock, as a couple people almost did earlier today.
And at some point this season, this team, the Appian Geronimo, will become a contender. Will it be right here in the final heat? Might be just a little bit early for this team.
Well, now Steve David has a problem out in the water, a lot of smoke. Oh, this could make him rue what he said to our Steve just a few minutes ago back on shore.
Steve David in the ARC Construction Prime Star gets one more clock start and a chance to beat the Budweiser. If you get the inside, can you run with him?
Well, we've been nice to them all day, but now we're getting ready for this final, so now it's time to kick their butt. So I can't tell them in advance because you guys are going to run down and tell them because they'll offer you some free bud or something. So it's a big secret, but we're going to kick their butt.
Well, first he's going to have to get up and running if he's going to kick anybody's butt, never mind Budweiser, Steve.
Absolutely. The only thing he's kicking right now is the ignition switch as Dave Vilwalk and the Budweiser go by him right there. Let's listen in once again to Dave and his radio man, Lawrence Sawyer.
Okay, Steve David is trying to get on plane. You got the Appian and the Pico on the back chute.
And now there is Steve David getting the ARC Construction going again, so Dave Vilwalk will be told about that, too.
Okay, Steve David is up and running. You got two boats ahead of you.
Mitch Evans running down the backstretch in the Appian Geronimo. Looking better than he has all day. Could step up and be a contender.
Pico's closer to you, ahead of you.
You can hear the team keeping an eye on the Pico, John. Even with the struggles they've had today, they expect them to be the competition. If not now, at some point this season.
You watch yourself in there. Yeah, I see big rollers down in one, so watch yourself down in there.
You get some idea how valuable that radio man, the spotter, is. You heard him warning Dave Vilwalk of some rollers down in the first turn that had been left by the boats on a previous milling lap, and Dave is going through them right now, but it helps, John, that he knew they were there.
And we should remind you that although we are hearing the Budweiser communication, everybody has communication, and so is getting the benefit of what the folks on shore can tell them.
Now, 2.5 minutes before the start is a little too early to have established a lane that you can hold. But at some point between now and about the 1-minute gun, you can bet that Steve David will make a strong move to try to take the inside.
On the Ohio, John Nicholson with Steve Montgomery. Here is the lineup for the final heat. Steve David, Mike Weber, Mitch Evans, and so on down the line to the U1 Miss Budweiser, Dave Vilwalk. Again, they are dicing to see who gets what lane. You don't have lane lineups this year with the clock start.
And look at this, John, as we go on board with Dave Vilwalk and the Miss Budweiser. He is on the outside. We wondered what would happen if he was pushed out there, and we're about to find out. As once again, his radio man counts him down to the start. He's going to be on time, but way outside Steve David. Over in lane 2, making a good start. The leader is going to be Mark Evans in the Pico American Dream at the start. If he had the horsepower, he could win this race from there. But Steve David is going to go by him in the ARC Construction and take the early lead.
As we watch from the O'Doul's eye in the sky, next to one another on the inside, Pico and then ARC Construction way on the outside right now. In lane 3, it is Miss Budweiser.
And the Budweiser running a surprising third. We may have written off the Pico a little too soon. He appeared to have pretty good boat speed at the entrance pin. Now it's a two-boat race, though, as the Bud and the ARC are side by side. Remember, the boat on the inside runs a shorter race course and has an advantage. And way on the inside, Mark Evans looked like he might have hit a buoy.
Pico falling back and in trouble now. Evans trying to make a move, and Steve David still has the lead. But from inside the Budweiser, now we see open water, which means Budweiser's making a move. David's still in the lead, but Budweiser's moving up, and there goes Dave Vilwalk.
Tremendous boat race here. Steve David still with the advantage on the inside. A great shot here from our O'Doul's eye in the sky as the Budweiser skips out just a bit. You see Steve David on the inside. He controls the radius of the turn, and again, he's running a shorter race course. Great side-by-side racing right here.
Keep in mind, this is a 5-lap final. The earlier heats were 3 laps. Steve David will have to hold on for 5 full laps to get the better of Budweiser as he walks it a bit around the turn. Dave Villwock does.
Dave Villwock is driving hard. He's got the red rocket flying, but Steve David with the advantage on the inside is going to be the leader as they come down to complete lap 2 of the 5-lap final. But here comes the Budweiser one more time. That's just too much boat speed on the outside.
The Budweiser will do in the vicinity of 200 miles an hour down the straightaway, and there are plenty of straightaways, 10 to be exact, in a 5-lap race for him to make up water on ARC Construction.
Interesting point about straightaways, John, is that the front straight here in Evansville is not straight. It actually has a bend in it. It's sort of a big D, the shape of this race course, and it does affect the boat speed as they come down that front chute. Now the Bud moves out a bit. Steve David still has the inside, but it looks like the horsepower and the handling of the Budweiser and Dave Villwock, who is driving very, very hard, may have taken over this final heat now.
This is something we talked about earlier, Steve. If Steve David should get the inside in a race such as this one, would it really matter? Is Bud that much stronger? Now it starts to look as if indeed the Bud is that much stronger.
Look how rough the Ohio River has become with these big boats out there churning it up. That becomes a factor. Dave Villwock has the best water. Mitch Evans, by the way, in the Appian Geronimo, running back a bit, but looking better. And this boat simply not able to challenge today. But that won't be the case all season for Mark Evans and the Pico American Dream.
Budweiser now with the lead. Villwock walking it just a little bit.
Slapping into some big rollers there on the Kentucky side, and those can become a factor. A couple of seasons ago, the Budweiser came apart on this river, John, and was unable to finish the race. That's how brutal this Ohio River can be.
And again, you have to keep in mind, even with a pretty good lead, something can always go wrong. You certainly hope it doesn't, but it's not as if you get a lead and then it's a cakewalk, especially, Steve, as you say, in the conditions getting rougher with each successive lap.
Nobody knows better than Dave Villwock how quickly complete success can become complete disaster, as we witnessed last year. Now you see the big lead that the Budweiser has opened up over the 2nd and 3rd place boats, and there they are. That is Steve David in that ARC Construction Prime Star boat, which has had a very good day, and running behind him in 3rd place is Mark Evans in the Pico American Dream. But if he did hit a buoy, as I thought he did earlier, he might be set back a bit more.
No setback apparently in the cards for Dave Villwock. He won the first heat, he won the second heat, and apparently is going to take the championship here in Evansville. That'll be 3 for 3 and well on his way to how he started last year, just beating everybody, heat after heat after heat. What a powerful boat and a powerful team. So here it comes around the last turn and heading for the finish. There's the checkered flag. Miss Budweiser, Dave Villwock, champion of Thunder on the Ohio. Celebration, as so very often, from the Budweiser crew on the dock. Steve David in ARC Construction, 2nd place. Not a bad showing at all, but he would have liked to be a little closer. Gave him a good run for a couple of laps, did Steve David. And it turns out Appian Geronimo with Mitch Evans is our 3rd place boat, because Pico indeed did hit a buoy and is penalized. So Mitch Evans, after a difficult time earlier in the day, gets a 3rd here, and then Mark Evans, as we check